Welcome back to another game of playing the wizards with myself. And this time, so there are 5 wizards in total: Saruman, Gandalf, Radagast, Alatar, and Palando. And in our last game, we played Gandalf versus Saruman. And so I wanted to play a game using one of the other three, or two of the other three wizards. I'm only playing uh, hero versus hero style games, and I'm using primarily the Wizards cards, although I am using some cards from the Dragons expansion and Dark Minions expansion, but I'm not using the Underdeeps, I'm not using Agents. I'm strictly using the sort of basic rules from the first Wizards game. Um, and Yeah, so I wanted to play a game with one of the two of the three wizards that I did not play with in the first round. So I assigned random values and just did a roll until I pulled up two different values, and basically just randomized it and to choose. And so what came up was Alatar versus Radagast, and so that's what we're going to play. Um, to talk about these two decks. Again, I'm playing against myself, so I've created decks centered around one single wizard, and there are no overlapping cards among the starting companies. So there isn't any competition there. There are some characters that may appear in both decks, or there may be examples of characters that are in one deck as in the play deck, and then in another deck as starting character, but there are no overlapping characters among starting characters. Anyway, to talk about these two decks specifically, Alatar's deck is focused primarily, it's basically an Alatar slash Elrond deck, similar to the way that the Saruman deck was a Saruman slash Aragorn deck. Elrond is almost as important as Alatar himself to this deck, and um, the deck centers around the northwest. It centers around the area between Rivendell and the Grey Havens and the Old Kingdom of Arnor, and it some of the major cards are, of course, Vilya, Elrond's Elven Ring, and this manifests as a short event in this game, and it's extremely powerful. It gives Elrond a prowess body and huge direct influence boost for one turn, which allows you to go kill big baddies or recruit factions easily, even if all of his direct influence is used up with followers. It does require a corruption check modified by -3, but of the three cards, it's probably the most of the three Elven Ring cards. It's probably the most useful, and I am lucky to have 3 copies, so I can have all of them in the deck. I know that there are times when you might be looking at my deck composition and wondering why, if you are doing this, why don't you have, if you're doing this strategy, why don't you have this card, or why do you only have 1 copy of this card? Well, it's because I only have 1 copy of that card, and I'm limited. I'm not playing an emulator. I'm playing with real cards I have, so I'm limited in many instances by what I actually have, and I don't have. There are a good number of rare cards that I don't have, and there are a good number of cards that I only have 1 copy of. So that explains that. But I'm lucky to have 3 copies of Vilya, and so we will be playing that one a lot. And it lets you. The most powerful thing it does is it lets you pull. It lets you pull 5 resources cards from your discard and put them back in your play deck. So you have extreme deck hand control. It's just supercharged, and it's awesome. And it's almost overpowered, and we're going to see that in action. Um, the other card that this deck really focuses on is Rescue Prisoners. Rescue Prisoners is a kind of mission, and you can do it in conjunction with visits to shadow holds or dark holds, where you You go there for one reason, for example, to play an item, but then you can also, if you have untapped characters, you can also play this card in addition. And then these are miscellaneous points, so they're not in one of those heavily contested like item or faction categories where you have to worry about maybe getting more than half of your points from that source. Yeah, these are miscellaneous points, and you can get up to 3 instances of this card. I've got 2 in the main deck and play deck, and then 1 in the sideboard. So we're going to be doing that a lot. This deck goes hard. They go into the dangerous places. They get good weapons, and then they basically, once they get rolling, they become kind of nigh invincible. And it's a lot of elves. The characters, the starting characters are all elves, and a lot of the characters in the deck are elves. It's a very elf-focused game, and then as far as the hazards go, it is men. So the hazards are mostly men, and there are a few cards to buff men, and there are lots of different cards, men hazards. And some giants too, because the cards that buff men, for example, rank upon rank, buff giants as well when Doors of Night is in play. Is that right? Yeah, when Doors of Night is in play, not when Doors of Night is in play. If Doors, oh yeah, when Doors of Night is in play. So okay, well that probably won't be coming up because this is also a Gates of Morning deck. I have of the 5 decks, I've kind of made 3 centered around Doors of Night and 2 centered around Gates of Morning. If you played the game before, you know that these are sort of these are environmental cards that really set the tone, and a lot of other cards play off of them. So it's kind of one or the other is usually in play. You can't have them both in play at the same time, and so if you're a Doors of Night focused deck and you're playing against the Gates of Morning, there's a lot of seesawing back and forth. There's a tension there, but it just so happened that the first 2, Gandalf and Saruman, the wizards I played in the first game, were both Doors of Night focused, and these 2 are both Gates of Morning. So there'll be less tension there, and Gates of Morning will probably be in play the entire game as Doors of Night was in the last game. But yeah, and again, rank upon rank is a card that I wish I had 3 copies of. Unfortunately, I only have 1. That's the one that buffs men attacks, similar to the way that Minion Stir buffed orc attacks for Sauron. It's a hazard deck. And then in the sideboard, we've just got more specific cards. There are one thing that men hazards have are a lot of cards that, like Thief and Pickpocket, that allow you to yoink items off of your opponent. And so not yoink them to you, but they just get discarded. And so that can be really annoying when that happens. And these hazards can be played in some of the safest places on the map. So a lot of times you get people when they least expect it, and it's a great it's great when that happens. But I put them in the sideboard because, to begin, you don't want to see these guys early in the game when your opponent doesn't even have any it doesn't even have any items on their characters yet. So that's why they're there. And then of course some corruption, some muster disperses, some things that are maybe a little more region specific, or involve wanting to see how your opponent's hand is going. And then on the resource side, some characters. Círdan, the shipwright, is a powerful character that might be able to come into play when he's in his home site. He is you get to hold an extra card in your hand, and I mean he's just a powerful character in general. And so yeah, but of course he has a huge 8 mind, so you kind of need your wizard out or something to be able to control him. And then some spell cards and some other more specialized cards. Yeah, so that's that deck. And then to talk about Radagast deck. So oh, by the way, just one more thing about Alatar. So one of the reasons why I made this deck the way it is because Alatar is the hunter. He's got the warrior skill, the ranger skill. His special ability is that he can teleport from a haven into a battle where one of his companies is embattled, and so that's cool. I want to hopefully use that. And then also during the movement hazard phase, the number of cards that your opponent draws based on his movement is reduced by 1. So there's just a little bit of quality of life card ability that's helpful. He's not the strongest wizard, but yeah, Elrond helps make it pick up the slack there. Anyway, now to talk about Radagast and his deck. His sort of best bud in this deck is Bjorn, and this is more of a men-focused deck with a lot of factions that can be played in the northeast. So around Ravagnon, the Iron Hills, and Mirkwood, and so yeah, Bjorn is kind of Bjorn and Gimli are in the starting company, and these guys can have a lot of prowess, so they can go to dangerous places, and there's just a good mix of stuff here. Everything's sort of focused on the northeast, and lots of factions, but some items too, just stuff to boost our prowess and try and keep corruption down. And then the hazards, but of course Radagast's special ability is that when he passes through every wilderness he passes through on his movement hazard phase allows him to draw an additional card. So once he gets going, you can be drawing a lot of cards, a lot of additional cards, and really go through your hand quickly. And so his hazard, his resource strategy involves Gates of Mourning, and then this card called Fog, which basically turns all borderlands and shadowlands into wildernesses. So almost everything on the map becomes a wilderness at that point. You're just running through lots of wildernesses. There's a lot of wilderness cancellation, hazard cancellation or mitigation, and then there's also a card called Echo of All Joy, which allows a long event to become a permanent event, essentially. And so you can just keep Fog going for a long time and just turn everything into wilderness and draw all the cards you want to. And to that end, the hazard deck is a dragon drake focused, because those often have double and triple wilderness. I know I said in the previous game that I felt like double and triple wilderness should be you have all in a row. It's not double wilderness unless you have 2 wilderness side by side. I'm going to go back on that. I've been watching some other games online, something I never used to do, and nobody does that. So I'm going to renege on that and say that yeah, as long as there's 2 wilderness in the side path, that's double wilderness. I think that's the intention. But anyway, some of these cards have triple wilderness requirements, so need a lot of wildernesses out there, and Fog definitely helps with that. Lure of Nature obviously is a big card, and then some cards to just help buff yeah, buff dragons, buff drakes. The sideboard. In the sideboard, we have Galadriel, and so she is not super high prowess, so she's not amazing as a starting character, but if I can get her in, if I can get a few items on Celeborn, if I can bring Celeborn in and then get a few items on Celeborn, he can actually, he's a 6 mind character that can actually control Galadriel, because he has a +5 direct influence to Galadriel, and then if you get an Elfstone and the gold belt of Lorien on him, he can control Galadriel, and they can stay at Lorien, and you get an extra card in your hand for that, and 2 powerful characters there that could go out into the world if they needed to as well. Yeah, so that's really nice. And so that's sort of a late game strategy. She also has her Elven Ring, which allows her to get buffed up, and it's a short event. Sadly, I only have 1 copy of that, but yeah, again, she's a late game strategy, so we'll see how things go, whether we really rely on her or not. Yeah, but and then of course in the sideboard for the dragons, some other stuff that buffs dragons, muster disperses, of course, some more site-specific dragons, and yeah, things like that. So that's the idea. So we're going to get started with this match, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this goes. I can't remember. It's been a few years since I played these games against myself with these decks, but I've had these kind of themes for a bit, and I played a lot of different combinations of Wizard. I can't remember the last time I played, or if I ever played Alatar versus Radagast. So I'm excited to see how this goes. The obviously Northwest Middle Earth is full of wildernesses, so Radagast, Drake, and Dragon hazards will probably have some success getting played on Alatar and Elrond, traveling around in those areas. And then, of course, the Northeast, there's lots of border holds and places where men hazards can be played easily. And so I think both hazards will be at least somewhat successful against these guys. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a hard fought match. I'm excited to see who wins. So let's get started.